everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the living room. Hi, everybody watching. Thank you so much for signing in. We're celebrating the holidays and all the things that that we're grateful for and thankful for through all the. I know I sent you all an email, and through all of the lows, maybe throughout the year, there have been highs, and those are the highs are what I'd like us all to focus on tonight. The positive things that have happened in spite of. Just a couple of logistical things. Obviously, we were supposed to have the advocacy panel as part 2 to our part 1 November kickoff, and through a series of unexpected circumstances, we had to postpone it till February. So in January, we will be doing the patient panel as planned, and then we're going to follow that in February with the advocacy panel. So we're going to have several different groups come out and talk about how we can work together to make lung cancer a chronically managed disease, which is our goal. So that's going to be in February. And then in March, we've got Dr. Malcolm DeCamp coming out from Northwestern in Chicago. He's a thoracic surgeon. He's going to talk about surgical techniques, primarily minimally invasive techniques, some of the new things kind of on the horizon and things that are happening right now. And then in April, we've got Marty Tannenbaum coming out to talk about Cancer Commons and our partnership with them. And is that me making that noise? Is it? No. Sorry, I don't know if everybody can hear that. Is that you?
All I'm doing is breathing. If you want me to stop, I can do it.
So I was actually somewhat disheartened about not being able to do the advocacy panel tonight, but grateful because we get to do our holiday celebration with one another and a little bit of catch up and where everybody is in their journey and what struggles you may be having, but also what positive things you may be having. So I'd like to kind of talk about both. I do want to start the night and remember some people that we have lost, and also acknowledge the people that are new in the room to this disease. You will meet some of them tonight, depending upon whether or not they're ready to kind of face this group, being the group that you all are. And just really reach out. I know I sent you guys an email about Christine Stahl, and although Christine didn't come to many of the living rooms, her daughters did, Penelope and Hannah. They were both pregnant at the same time. I think most of you might remember them, and unfortunately Christine lost her battle, so I'd like to keep her family in our thoughts, as well as Patrick Richards. He as well lost his battle, so I'd like to keep Julie, his wife, in our thoughts too. So with that, I'm going to move to Neil, and I'm actually going to ask Neil to kick this off and not only introduce yourself and sort of your journey, but your experience yesterday and everything that happened there. So, Neil.
So first I have to show you so those people can see. Right. I do not believe in sedate things, nor trying to keep myself hidden at all. So, and these are actually my sedate tights. So next month you may get more. I do not wear pants except on very few occasions, one of which was yesterday. I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. So I'm Neil. I was diagnosed 2.5 years ago and started this journey at that time. Went through some of the despair that some of the people who perhaps here tonight who have just been diagnosed are going through right now. And I do want you to know that at some point you cross the line from despair to hope, and it brightens up everything around you and everything that can happen in the future, because there is a future. So I started in June 2011, getting diagnosed, quickly on Tarceva for 13 months, and had the most wonderful reaction with that. Wish that I was still on it at that possibility of that type of reaction, but no such luck, because it started to not work as well, and that meant some other treatment. I get treatment at Stanford And let me give a shout out to them, because after what I heard yesterday and what I've heard from other people, the standard of care in this area is so much better than most of the United States, between UCSF and Davis and Stanford and some other locations nearby, that it's hurtful to see what other people are not getting that we have the possibility to be able to get, and especially we were able to drive there and not have to fly either for trials or for any other reason. So I did IV chemo for about 6 months, and I hated every day of it. It was every 3 weeks, and the third week was kind of the normal week for me until I would click on, it's like, oh, how many more days until it's time to go to Stanford and get the bags. And so, of course, I wasn't too interested in doing that, but I did. And at the time, every day I would look and see what clinical trials were available, because I thought that maybe that could be a better option for me. And I found one, I watched it for a while, decided I wanted to participate, but I didn't want to be the first person in the trial, because I know what happens when you're first or second or third. Many times the dose isn't high enough to give you some type of positive reaction. And I understand somebody has to be first, but I'll let somebody else do that. All right? I always want to be the top of the class, but I'll allow someone to be first in that case there. So almost 1 year ago, January 7th of this year, I started the Clovis trial, which some of you know. Some of you may have looked at it. Locally, it's at Stanford. I was very fortunate. It happens to be my doctor who was doing it there, so I didn't have to see anybody that I was unfamiliar with, who didn't know me, didn't have to go any place special for it, so that makes life a lot easier. My day of truth is tomorrow, when I get the CTs and scans, and then the results on Thursday. So however I'm feeling, whether good or not, the real truth is what I see from the inside and what's going on the screen, and that I can review with my doctors and say, well, where do we go from here? What are the possible options, which we discuss every few weeks? And a plus part of being on the trial is that I am at Stanford every 3 weeks and get that opportunity both to see people who are expert in this area, plus stay on top of any mutations in my brain, because I've had CyberKnife, which maybe would have gone longer without having these scans as often as they are. I am a very forceful patient advocate, which I have learned from Bonnie J. Addario, from her daughters Danielle and Andrea. I don't keep my mouth shut about things. But I'm trying to be a positive patient advocate. I have approached and talked with every company from whom I've received treatment, whether it be the CyberKnife with Accuray, and they happen to be close by, Genentech for Tarceva, Clovis Oncology, and yes, even though it's a trial, I approached them, we got approval, and I was able to go talk with them and have been in contact with them, so they know how at least one patient is doing in a first-hand way, rather than just the pieces of paper that I fill out to say how many pills I took, when I took it, and then every once in a while, this long questionnaire. Did I have diarrhea? Do I have acne? Do I have all of these other things? But I want them to know us as patients in a first-hand basis and try to break the mold. So as part of that, I was fortunate to be asked to spend the day yesterday at Genentech. So any of you who have taken Tarceva or are taking it, so that's Genentech, or if you've taken Avastin or are taking it, that's Genentech. So I was trying yesterday to be all of your advocate there. I spent the better part of 8 or 9 hours with some other patients and a number of people there, and the whole goal, or overall goal, was how do you include patient in the treatment process, not in a passive way, which many of us go to the doctor, we get the IV chemo, we take the pill, but to really personalize it in such a way. So when they talk about personalized medicine, it's just not finding a drug that maybe works better for you than for somebody else, but really the whole person, the gestalt of that person, so that we as patients, to whatever degree we're able to, and however we feel at that particular moment, have to make ourselves known to the pharma company And whether it's a trial and they say, well, we can't know who you are. Well, I know that's not the truth. All right? I'm not going to accept what they say, unless I hear it so many times and the door finally shuts in my face. But up until that point, I'm going to try to push it open, because we as patients have to advocate for ourselves. So my whole goal yesterday was to do that for us and make sure. And Genentech, I think, is a great example of a company that does believe in it. So now we have to get the other companies to have us be there at the different stages of the trials. When they're talking about what they're going to do to us and what treatments they want to administer to us, they need to hear from us what we think about that and how it affects us as an individual, how it affects us as a group, and our thoughts going forward into the future, and how we give them ideas of what the study should be. We always hear they want us to be healthy. So if you have anything that's happened in your life, if you had a cold sometime, you may be excluded from the study. Why? Because they're afraid if you're not healthy, something could happen to you, and that's the end of the study. So if they want us to be healthy, they need to find ways, and we need to find ways. How do you encourage that? They want us to exercise. Well, all you need to do is put a little box on a piece of paper that I have this form that I have to fill out every day. It doesn't have that there. But most of us like to check off boxes. So even if that was on the trial form and I could only walk 100 feet, I would do that, and then the next day maybe 110. And maybe the information that we get from when we do the trials and we're participants in it can be sent electronically. If we were a Fitbit or a Fuel bracelet from Nike or some other company, and get information in a different way. So I'll kind of close with the idea that more and more I'm learning from my mentor here that I need to be an advocate. I always was an advocate for myself, but I need to be for the group. And what I've also tried to be, and I hope all of you here will be, and the other people that I've met, is especially when there's a newly diagnosed patient, we need to reach out for that to that person, listen to what they have to say. We've been through it. We're still going through it. And if some way we can help them with the journey, then they will be able to help someone, the next person that's there. So thank you.
So who said we didn't have a guest speaker tonight?
Give me a microphone.
Hi, I'm Kathy Curry, and I'm from Sunnyvale. I was diagnosed with cancer in April of 2012. Originally, it was stage 3, but they put me on chemo, and it went to stage 4 before they could do surgery. I did 3 sessions of Olympnin, cisplatin, which did not work. In fact, it spread. That's when it spread and became stage 4. And then my doctor tried Tarceva, and it worked for about a year, and it stopped working about this June. So I've been looking for medical trials and end up being about just off on them. I was looking at one at Davis in October, and actually what got accepted, and then the day before my screening, I got pneumonia. I did go see him anyway, but I couldn't start the trial, and then it was over because I had to wait 4 weeks. And it was actually finished then. And we tested for MET, which is what the trial was for, and I ended up testing positive for it. So I probably would have had a good result, or might have. So in the meantime, my doctor put me on a Afatinib, which unfortunately didn't work at all. We just did a scan a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to probably try a trial going on at Kaiser that's either PD-1 or else you get Taxotere on it, and I'm going to start that in January.
Hi, I'm Carrie Peterson, and thank you for your advocacy and all you do for us, because I think there's a lot behind the scenes that we don't know about that happens, because when I pull up Neil's name, there's a lot up there. It's a long read. Anyway, so we thank you. And currently I'm on Taxotere, which is going all right, except that I'm really having a hard time with my down days, that I don't really have the up days that I used to have for 10 days to 2 weeks. And I have been told I've had issues with my potassium and magnesium, so we're trying to address that as the issue, possibly around feeling so crummy, even though I'm on my up part of my cycle. During this time period, a few months ago, while I've been on the Taxotere, I have had brain metastases as well. So the question was on the table from my doctor whether or not I wanted to continue with the Taxotere, in that it was fine with my lungs, but obviously it hadn't kept things from crossing the blood-brain barrier. So the other choice was to take Tarceva. Although Tarceva was likely to cross the blood-brain barrier better, it was less likely to have as good and positive effect on my lungs, because I did not test positive for that. So hope that makes sense, but I'm open to anybody's suggestions, ideas, anybody who's had anything experienced the same. As I every day I'm reconsidering the decisions that I'm making to see if there's something that's going to be easier on me, or that I'm going to enjoy life a little bit more. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Carrie, did they run Veristrat test on you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know I did the basic standards, as they say.
But before they put you on the Tarceva, so Veristrat,
I'm on Taxotere, not on Tarceva.
yeah, but
It's the EGFR.
so they're recommending the Tarceva, right?
They're considering the Tarceva.
So there's a test that we should talk about, and it's called Veristrat, and their trial actually just the results came out at ASCO, their PROS trial, and it's actually. They did very well in their trial, and what it is it's a test to determine it's a blood test, right, Stephen? To determine whether or not you test Veristrat good or Veristrat poor, which will help decide, in spite of the fact that you don't have the EGFR mutation, are you one of those people that may respond positively to Tarceva? In other words, you'd be Veristrat good. So let's talk a little bit more about that, and I can give you some information before they put you on the Tarceva that you can bring back to your doctor and discuss with him the possibility of having this test done. Okay?
Hi, everyone. My name's Elaine, and I was diagnosed in May of '08. Way too long, but I'm still here.
No, look, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
I do not feel good, and it's really from the pinched nerves that I have. And there's there's Dr. Lim over there. I finally got back into her. I would have to wait 3 months to get a appointment. So I used my fantastic personality, and I called them again, and I told the sweet little receptionist, I said, you sent me to another doctor, and to be very honest, I don't like him, and I don't feel good with him. And you can't tell me that I have to wait 3 months to get an appointment with Dr. Lim. I went to her when I started, and I want to go back to her, and I don't want to wait 3 months. I got in a week. Yeah. So, you have to stand up for yourself, And it's hard to do sometimes, but there's other times it's not hard for me. So I'm I'm happy to be back with Dr. Lim, and she put me on a nebulizer for my lungs. And guess what? I'm allergic to the medicine. And 2 weeks before that, they put me on lidocaine patches, cost $90, allergic to lidocaine. So anyone need any lidocaine patches? I have a whole box of them.
You sell them.
Oh, no. Sell them. That's Sally. They cost $90. But anyway, I tried. And that's all you can do. And you can't get upset. I've been sick all week because of this allergy. And I don't like it. And my dog doesn't like it. She keeps kissing me. And the cat sleeps on my heating pad, you know.
I hate it when that happens.
So but you know, I feel very fortunate. I'm still here. It could be a lot worse. And my last 3 scans were really good. And I started to have tremendous headaches, and I had no idea, never got headaches. So they took a brain scan, and I think I still have a brain, but it was fine. So whatever it is, I'm glad I don't have any problem with my brain, but I still don't know what's causing the headaches, but I'm still here.
And you look beautiful.
And I wanted to say I was on Tarceva. I've been on it all, you know, Gemzar, you name it, I was on them. And and when I took chemo, I'm off chemo, by the way. I don't take any regular chemo, and I'm glad that I don't. However, if it was helping me, I'd be very glad to be back on all of it because it's very important. As Dr. Dormady says, I'm a tough nut to crack, and that he likes me to do what he says. And so I have to question him a lot, you know, but he's such a sweetheart. He really helps me. And they have me on a program called Pathway, and they come to the house, and as I was telling Sally, I have my nurse, I have my caseworker, and my physical therapist, and they're just wonderful people. And they are helping me, keeps me out of the hospital. And I don't want to go clear down to Mountain View every time I turn around. I moved here 1.5 years ago, and I've been in the hospital 4 times. Who needs it? I guess I did. But anyway, I'm happy to be here tonight. I didn't think I was going to make it. I stayed in bed till noon. I felt terrible. But I got up and did all my things, and the dog had to use the potty pads. She managed. You know, she's okay about it. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. Merry Christmas to all of you.
And you look beautiful. You look fabulous.
I always look good.
You do.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
And look how beautiful she is. I'm telling
Yes.
you.
And Sally, who's going to talk next,
Yeah, Sally.
right?
Well, if you ever need a good laugh, talk to Elaine.
Right.
She can cheer you up in no time. She's full of stories. I love her. I'm Sally. I am at the opposite end, really, from Neil and a lot of the people here. I kind of feel like my main goal in life is to have people be proactive for early detection. I put myself into the International Early Lung Cancer study in 2004. They found some nodules, which they didn't pay attention to. By 2009, one of them had grown. So had I not put myself into that because I felt I was at high risk, I might be at a totally different story here tonight. So my main thing in life is to keep people aware of what's going on with lung cancer. None of my friends like to look at my Facebook page because it's mainly about lung cancer. And just early detection. If any of you feel you're at risk, or even if you have any lingering coughs or anything like that, I didn't have any symptoms at all. I thought I was perfectly healthy. So don't put it off. Push your doctors if you have to, but early detection is the main thing.
You know, thank you for bringing that up, Sally, because it took us, I don't know, 10, 20, 25 years to get CT screening blessed by the FDA and everybody that needed to bless it as an early detection program for lung cancer. So it's huge.
It is
It's
huge.
huge.
And a hope for all of you is my mother had lung cancer, and she had it 3 different times. She lived 22 years
Right.
with it. So,
Right.
and she lived a perfectly fabulous life. So
Right.
there's hope for everybody. And she might have at that time been not the norm, but every day new things are found, and there's more and
Exactly.
more hope.
Exactly. Thank you, Sally. Where are we going, Danielle?
Nancy?
Nancy?
Hi, I'm Nancy Capelli. I'm also on the other end of the spectrum, and for a different reason. My mom has, I've told my story in here, and I'm on Bonnie's video, but my mom had previously had breast cancer, and, you know, they thought it had spread to her lungs when one of the nodules in her lungs.
10 years previously.
10 years
Yeah.
previously, when one of the, 12 years later, actually, when one of the tiny things in her lung finally got big enough to biopsy, they did that and realized it was not metastasized breast cancer, but it was lung cancer. And luckily for me and her, she got a second opinion with Dr. Carbone, who Bonnie knows, and he was doing, you know, a lot of research and said this is in your genetic DNA, or he tested to find that out, and it was, and he said your kids should be tested. And so I got tested about a year and a half ago,
For
T790M, and it was a 50-50, and I had it in my blood, and, you know, of course, no symptoms, you know, not a smoker, not anything that was on my radar at all. But I went over to Stanford, and, you know, they didn't know what to do either, but they said, let's get you a baseline CT scan on your chest. And I had that, and I had some nodules. And about a year ago, almost to the day, early January, I had the largest one removed, and it was precancerous, stage 0. So, you know, very, very lucky in that this is the future, these genetic testing. Myself and my mom and my brother are in the study out of Dana-Farber that Bonnie's team is helping fund. And this is going to be the future, is hopefully coming up with a way to find this early, because the biggest problem, you know, I could have also been someone 10 years from now in a different situation. So, you know, hopefully we're on the leading edge of finding, you know, especially lung cancer, since it's usually found so late, but finding it in advance.
Thank you, Nancy.
Well, my oncologist told me that mine was the first case he had heard of massage-related discovery of cancer. It was almost exactly a year ago, the day after Christmas last year, and we had a house full of family. Harlan and I had just gotten married 4 months before that, and he was giving me a little neck rub that night after a busy holiday, wonderful holiday, and he found a little hard lump in my throat, and I was diagnosed with stage 3B lung cancer. Because of the metastasis to the lymph nodes, surgery is not an option for me. The spread is too broad. So I had chemo and radiation last spring, and now I've been on Tarceva since about June, with excellent results, I have to say. I just had my second CT scan that shows the cancer contained, not growing. I talked to a different oncologist friend of mine who I thought was very funny. She said, we don't say you're cured until you die of something else. So cure is not a word that we use, but we're feeling very optimistic about the short-term future at any rate. So that's my story. What is an incredibly positive thing that has come out of this for me has been the ability to write about it. And I'm very grateful to so many of you who read what I write on Parade magazine. I have a blog on their site called Top of My Lungs, Living with Lung Cancer. And you can find it if you just go to Parade and look for Jennifer Glass, or on my Facebook page. You can also find links. And I really appreciate everyone who reads and all the wonderful feedback I get from you. So thank you.
And Jennifer did a small video a while back, so we've posted it on our Facebook, but we'll repost it again, so you can all see that, and it's very inspiring. And Jennifer is an amazing writer, without a doubt.
And I think most of you have seen her video because I forwarded it. How long ago was that now, Jennifer?
It's been
about 6 months ago.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, I'm not a speaker like the rest of everybody else. This turned into quite an interesting.
Have cute hair, though.
Thank you.
And you
I'm-
lie because you are a speaker.
Yeah, you.
No,
yeah,
I'm not.
Exactly. Yeah. And a good speller.
But my name is Tina, and I just passed my 3-year. I feel like that's my new birthday, November 23rd. And so, thank you. I was diagnosed 3 years ago, and I did chemo and radiation, and then I went on Tarceva after that, and that's my happy ending right there. It's Tarceva. So far, so good. So. Short
That's
and
awesome,
sweet.
because we have a couple of new patients here tonight that are on Tarceva, and, I think they're anxious to hear some good things about that.
It's been over 2 years on Tarceva, so that's, I don't know, 2 years, not quite 2.5 years.
And in case you don't recognize it, the three of us have Tarceva hair, so.
Jennifer.
We just wish you had.
I just wish I had.
That's right, absolutely.
Look at Elizabeth becoming a jokester.
Well, my name's Elizabeth Lacasia. I was diagnosed, I can't believe it, in 2007. I've had several surgeries. I have stage 4 bronchioalveolar carcinoma. It took almost a year for it to be diagnosed. And I had 2 surgeries, and then I had lung surgery, and I was told that it was cured, and about 12 months later, it had spread to all throughout my lungs, so it was stage 4 at that point. I had a wedge resection at that point, and after that, I went on my first course of chemo, which is Gemzar, carboplatin, and Avastin. And it seemed to work okay, but then there were some, my background's in biotech, and so I'm kind of the type of patients doctors hate because I ask a lot of questions, and I challenge them.
You and Neil.
Like Neil and I, we're kindred spirits, I think. So I decided to get a second opinion because my oncologist started talking to me about palliative care and some things like that. And when I started talking to her about molecular and genetic testing, which probably you all are sick of me hearing it, but I will give my plug once again. So I went to another oncologist and he basically said, stay on the treatment that you're on right now. Don't change horses in the midst of a race, but once you progress, we'll change, because I said, you're my doc, I want to be with you. It was Dr. David Gandera up at UC Davis. He was the one that is an advocate for molecular and genetic testing. And I will tell you this, that the reason why I'm such an avid supporter of this panel of tests, and it basically now it's even more comprehensive than when I had it. I don't even, Bonnie,
Well,
how many
Met
tests do
is
they have?
on it now, and who said they had Met? Yes, which is,
Right. So,
very good.
So I had the molecular and genetic testing done, and I found out that the most toxic chemo that I had been on in my initial round of treatment, my cancer was completely resistant to. So therefore I was exposing my body to all these toxins and things like that, and it was doing nothing. So, and I think currently still the standard of care is not to do the molecular and genetic testing until it's stage 4. And I am on my soapbox trying to get it, just like breast cancer, just like prostate, and the rest of us, and Bonnie and everybody else, to get molecular and genetic testing done so that it is done up front and they know what they're dealing with. So Carrie, in your circumstance, I am wild type. I don't have a lot of the mutations. And so when I transferred to Dr. Gandera, he put me on a trial of Alimta and Tarceva because he said that there was a subgroup of patients, even though they don't show on the tests, and granted, let's not forget, these tests are not fallible and they're not capturing everything yet. They're working on it. But there was a subgroup of people that responded extremely well. And he said, you know what? I think you have the profile. Let's go for a Hail Mary here. Let's just try it. We'll know in a few weeks if it works or not. Well, I'm now, as of December 10th, I have passed my 4-year mark on being on the trial at UC Davis. Apparently, I was told that I have broken some records. I am an enigma, and so I'm kind of the canary in the coal mine, but I'm participating in clinical trials, and I heartily suggest that everybody try to participate, find out about it, whether it's at your location or another. I also support getting second opinions. For instance, I love Dr. Gandara. He's fantastic. You can go up there, get a second opinion, and you don't have to go to him, although I do. I just adore him. I think he's great. But that is one of the main reasons why I do believe I'm here today. If I had stayed at the institution where I was before, I do believe I would not be here today. The two things are getting the molecular and genetic testing so that you get your profile and you better understand what you're dealing with. Even if you do turn up to be wild type like myself, you still know more than you did before. And also getting to a specialist, not just an oncologist, and not even necessarily a thoracic oncologist, but get to a specialist who has had experience with your particular type of cancer. Because as we all know, lung cancer is extremely complex. And there are a lot of different variations of it. And some people, quite honestly, are better at approaching it than others. And I was looking for someone to take a risk with me. I had been married just 2 years, and I wasn't about ready to kind of hang up my spurs yet. And so here I am today, and hope to be here much longer. But that's my story.
And Elizabeth, you were going to share tonight what your biggest worry is right now. What's the thing on your mind right now this Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Compared to a year ago.
Well, I was joking with Bonnie because when I was in the throes of some of the more toxic chemos, nausea and trying to keep weight on was just such a tremendous challenge, and trying to eat, and my husband would just literally sit there for hours trying to get me to eat food and get things down. Well, I was telling Bonnie, if it's any indication of my health right now, I says I'm gaining so much weight, I'm growing my way out of clothes, and if I don't watch it, I'm gonna have to go on a diet, which I do plan on going New Year.
So yay.
You know, what better validation than your body?
Right. Exactly.
Putting away the reserves, so now I have to kind of cut back on all the goodies, darn it. And you're no help today at all.
There you go. Nothing but carbs over here. Carbs, carbs, carbs.
So I'm hoping that many of you will join me in breaking many, many
records.
Thank you.
Awesome. Fred, or
Joyce?
Patrick, why don't you introduce yourself really quick about who you are, because you're not even involved in lung
You're not
cancer.
done with patients yet.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. I do everything wrong.
No.
I do.
No, you don't.
All right, I'll take that. Okay, let me take that and this. Okay, there we go. Now we got the right stuff.
My name is Patrick Lehner. I'm here as a guest. I've watched some of the videos on the website, the Bonnie J. Addario Lung Cancer Foundation, and I've been very impressed. One of the things that I'm impressed about with this organization is the patient advocacy aspect of it. I think that there's a significant opportunity for people who are patients of lung cancer or other chronic illnesses, of which I have one. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I think there's, like anything else, there's strength in numbers. And I think that if more and more people continue to participate in this organization who have lung cancer, continue to grow as a group, increase their volume, and really press hard to push for results in terms of treatments and patient care, I think that's a very powerful road to take. So I'm here just to observe, and I'm impressed with what I've seen so far.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. Joyce, I saw you sneak in late. You usually talk. I want to give you the opportunity since you. Do you want to stand up? Somebody will hand you a mic. There you go.
Hi, my name is Joyce. I was diagnosed 2 years ago, almost to the day, with, I guess, just non-small cell lung cancer, adenocarcinoma, stage 3B, inoperable, and went through the radiation and chemo course. I was on cisplatin and etoposide, and came out with a complete response. And my oncologist suggested maintenance chemo on Alimta pretty much forever. And I thought, no, that doesn't sound right. And I also found out there wasn't a whole lot of data supporting the efficacy of maintenance chemo at that time. And I decided to go for a clinical trial in Southern California for Lucanix, which is a vaccination. It's an immune system, immunotherapy. And my oncologist was horrified because it was a double-blind randomized study with a good chance of getting a placebo. But, you know, I wasn't doing any other treatment, so I felt I didn't have anything to lose, and good information can come from this. Plus, maybe there was a chance. They had wonderful phase 1 and phase 2 results. This was the phase 3 trial for Lucanix. Unfortunately, after about 8 months, I showed progression and got the boot from the study and went back into chemotherapy. And at that time, I was still feeling a lot of the random side effects that had become permanent after effects of my original chemo. Mainly peripheral neuropathies were the ones that bothered me the most. I also should say, before my diagnosis, I was controlled for many, many years with rheumatoid arthritis. But of course, when I did the clinical trial, I couldn't take any of the meds that had controlled my RA for so long. So it was a kind of a tough haul. Actually, to this day, I still don't really have my RA under control, but I think I've turned a corner that's interesting because I hated going back into chemo so much. I went to the path lab, to the last hospital where I'd had my last biopsy, which was almost a year ago, exactly, and asked them to send my slides, my tissue samples, to Foundation Medicine in Boston. And that is one of the few places that I know of that are private laboratories that do these molecular tests and I think chemoassays testing. And I was scared because I actually didn't ask my oncologist to do this order for me. I had an MD friend sign the order, and thought, oh my gosh, if they look at my credit report, they're going to know I can't possibly afford this test. But I just decided to wing it, and as part of the chemoassay, I guess they test your own cells against every known chemo agent. And they found a certain class of chemo agents that seemed to be really good and fast at killing my particular cells. And it's a chemotherapy that is used only for renal cancer. I think it's called an mTOR inhibitor. And, you know, when I was so excited, I was still getting in my course of chemo when I got this information back, and I thought, oh, they're going to just stop this course of chemo and go straight to this. And it doesn't work that way. It seems that, you know, my oncologist was very, very adamant that this was a good thing to have in my arsenal, but not really usable. He really recommended not even exploring it because there are no data showing how this drug works for lung cancer. Nobody's done it before. Also, no studies have been done on how this particular drug works with other chemicals, drug interactions. But I thought, well, I just really wanted to try it. I had to finish that round of chemo, and it just about killed me because the Taxol just made my peripheral neuropathy about 100 times worse. And I so wanted to try this new thing. After my next scan didn't look that great, didn't look that bad, but it didn't look that great, I just insisted that I try this new renal cancer therapy. And against my oncologist's advice, he said, how are you going to pay for this? Because, this drug isn't FDA approved for this use, and so there's no chance any insurance company is going to pay for it. But, everything seemed to work out, just like I knew I couldn't afford the test. Foundation Medicine sent a letter shortly after they sent results saying, chances are your insurance company isn't going to be real anxious to pay for this testing, but just sign the power of attorney form enclosed and we'll send our lawyers to court for you and we'll fight for your coverage, which I thought was cool. It also turned out that my insurance company did cover this. It's called Afinitor, is the particular drug I'm taking, with a $45 a month copay. They didn't have to. I don't know why they did, but I'm certainly delighted that they did. It's been almost a year now, and I knew that the first scan I had was good news when my oncologist said, I'm brilliant. I'm thinking outside the box here. I am forging new ground. Oh my God. He convened 2 tumor boards, 2 different hospitals to present me. I got to go to one of them, and it was a trip. He got a standing ovation. And I said, this is great. I knew this was good news. The second scan, even better. This is an oral med that I just take one every day. It does have side effects. You learn to live with them because the key word here is live. When I first read the contraindications for this particular drug, it showed this, horrific and myriad side effects. And instead of saying, 3% of the patients who take this might get this, or 63% of the patients who take this drug get all of the side effects. It's like, how do I cope with that? Well, I found a nurse who had worked, an oncology nurse who worked with renal cancer patients. She said, just when your symptoms get too bad, stop taking it. And when your symptoms have, dwindled, start taking it again at half dosage. So I'm doing it, and I feel great. And I think that, as I've heard before, we are so lucky to live when and where we do. We are surrounded by, brilliant people doing brilliant work. It's just so difficult sometimes to navigate, to know what you can do, can't do. So yes, patient advocacy, advocating for yourself and for other people especially recently diagnosed people, is so very important, because I feel like, as you said, a new birthday. This is the best thing I've ever done. And I couldn't be more pleased. So that's my story.
So I want to ask a couple of before we move on, new people in the room, whether or not they want to talk. Yes, Joe does. Okay. Is it on? No.
Doesn't sound like it's on.
Trey. There we go.
Hi. Yeah,
Better.
Yeah. This is my first night tonight. I'm a newbie, a total newbie. 6 weeks ago, I was having a normal annual physical and left saying I was fine. That night I went to a wine tasting party at Vivace's here in Belmont and passed out. And a few hours later, I was being told that I had a nodule at the ER at Kaiser, that had a nodule on my lung, and we went from there. So I'm 6 weeks new to this thing called lung cancer. I had some surgery 3 weeks ago that was ineffective. They couldn't do anything in there. I was diagnosed stage 4 M1. And you guys are talking all this stuff that's also very new to me that I'm not totally familiar with relative to what the words are and all the diagnosis, but it seems like everybody here is or has been on Tarceva, and I've been on Tarceva for 9 days.
And he has a rash.
And I have a rash. Surprise, surprise. No, this is still my hair. This is still my hair.
You're going to keep that for a while.
For me, so far, the hardest part has been that I can't eat because I'm Italian, and I've been on, Prilosec for so many years, and you can't take heartburn pills, you know. So once I stopped taking the heartburn pills, oh my goodness, you know. So far I'm down about, 15 pounds or so, but it's only 9 days. So I'm encouraged by all the proactive people that are in this room is incredible, that everybody is so into it. And
you're going to try some milk for that.
yeah, that's right. I have to take some milk tonight, yeah. See, I asked my oncologist that, and she said none yet. So I'll keep pushing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'll keep pushing. And I don't know what the M1 means.
That's the size.
What does it mean?
Size and location.
Oh, okay.
What does it mean?
M1 is the size and location.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm new to all the terms, and I'm new to the group, but I can't say that I'm happy to be here, but I'm happy that you are here and that I can attend.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
We have another one over there in the corner.
Do you guys want to come out in the middle so we can see, or?
Brown jacket. Okay. Brown. Oh.
We can help. Andrea can help. There you go.
Hello, I'm Joan Fong. Sorry we're late. We couldn't find the place here.
It's not easy. We do it on purpose. Really.
Yeah, it was fun. I was diagnosed 7 weeks ago that I have stage 4 lung cancer, and I was very glad I found it because it had metastasized to my hip bone, and it had weakened my bone to the point where I had a fracture, and that's my only indication that I have this lung cancer. They did the MRI, and they saw something was wrong with the bone. That's why they did the CAT scan, and then later on the PET scan, and they confirmed it was lung cancer. So I'm on Tarceva. I am EGFR exon 19. I have the genetic mutation that affects Asian women, never smokers. So I'm glad I'm doing well with the medication. Had the rash, and it's gotten a lot better, managing it well at this point. So it's like 32 days on Tarceva, and it's doing good. So face is smooth now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's hope.
Right.
So I'm glad that you're here to be a support. Your resources have been very informative. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Could I
How is your fracture doing?
It's improving. I mean, it doesn't cause me any pain. I had the radiation, and they've just said that I need to have no pressure on it. And I meet with the orthopedic doctor in January, so hopefully I'll be walking again.
Okay. Well, I love your smile. Awesome.
Joan, could I ask you, and also Joe, because you just were newly diagnosed in both of your cases, how did you find the foundation? Because we know there are a lot of people in this area throughout the country, but even in this area, who I believe do not know about this incredible foundation, which I found fortuitously a while ago. So I'm interested in how you did so that more of the people will be able to get the resources that we all have gotten from Bonnie and Danny and Danielle and Andrea and Scott and everybody else in this organization?
My son's friend, parents, actually, Jay Park, he is good friends with Bonnie and Tony and Ignacio.
Yes, exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Played golf with him and Ignacio and talked about the foundation and gave him one of the books that Danielle put together, which I think
And we've
he
been emailing.
put onto you.
Yeah.
And then we emailed back and forth. So.
Right, so I got the email, and then we went to the Stanford lung conversation, and we got this binder over there.
That's great. That's great.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to introduce each other. It was too crowded.
You ended up in the right location, and that's fine. I'm just curious, Joe, also with you.
Mine was from my good friend Dennis Bentelli. He has one of his employees who was diagnosed with lung cancer originally. And how did they find out about it? How did you know to have him come here?
He actually found us,
He found you.
and then it turned out not to be lung cancer, right?
Exactly.
So,
That's what I was going to say. And it
yeah.
wasn't lung cancer.
Right.
And then a few weeks later, or a few months later, I'm diagnosed with lung cancer. And
Right.
Dennis and his wife are
Right. It's
nudging.
like, go, go, go.
Go, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I found out.
Sally?
Oh, yes. And my wife reminded me. When was it? The night we had just gotten home from the hospital, wasn't it? Or I don't know, one of the nights, the night of the biopsy, we just came home, turned on the news, and there you were, or they were featuring, you were doing your fundraiser, your big gala.
Oh, okay.
And it was on the news. I said, oh my God, look
Cheryl
at
Jennings,
that.
Channel 7.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
It was on Channel 7 News.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah. I just remember because it was like, oh my God, that's what we had just heard, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. I
Right.
didn't know about it. I'll go
It
next
should
year.
have been there. Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Sally, you need a mic.
Well, I just wanted to say that I thank Peninsula TV because I can't tell you the number of people that have come up to me and said, oh, I saw you on TV. I said, what are you talking about? You saw me on TV. And there are people that have nothing to do
On the
with
cancer
lung
show.
cancer.
Right.
No, but it thrilled me because I knew that this was going out there, but I didn't know how much of the public would actually tune into a program about lung cancer. So I thank Peninsula Television for...
Well, we've reached 140 countries.
Yeah.
Fred, I know I can't see you right now. You're hiding in the corner. Do you want to share?
Come on, Fred.
Sure. I'm rather new to this, my first meeting here. And I was diagnosed about a month and a half, 2 months ago. I had to go through 2 biopsies before it was actually confirmed. What happened was I was taking a vigorous walk and had a minor coronary infarction in August. And as a result of the trip to the emergency room, they took a chest x-ray and found a mass on my right lung. And it took a little while to identify what it was because I was on blood thinners, obviously, because of the coronary issue. So I started chemotherapy and radiation last weekend, or last week, I should say. It was on Wednesday. And I'll be continuing this week, and this should go on to about January 24th. I think the most amazing thing is that I've always seen myself as a very, independent, strong person, and always wanted to put up a good front. And I thought that when I told my friends and colleagues and so forth about this, there would be a certain amount of shunning that would have gone on. I was no longer the person I was, but that wasn't true. I've gotten a tremendous amount of support, so I was quite amazed about that. And I'm really happy about that. It's really too early to tell what's going to be happening in terms of my case because supposedly I'm treatable. This is stage 3A. There's been some mutation to the, or some metastasis to the lymphatic system surrounding the lung, but nothing beyond that. So hopefully with the chemotherapy and radiation, perhaps even surgery afterwards, I'll be back in shape again. And I'm happy to have found this. Thanks to this gentleman over here. I was attending a conference that you attended at sponsored by Stanford, and he steered me onto this organization. So I came down here and realized that, since I live in Belmont, this is probably one of the most prestigious organizations of its kind in the world, and I just happen to be living within, maybe 10 minutes of it. So I'm really happy to have found it. So I want to thank Danielle too. She's been a big support and a big source of support, I should say. So I just have to keep you posted because I don't know. It's just too early to tell what's going to happen now. I just want to get through the chemotherapy and radiation, and I've been able to maintain my activities. After this, I have to go to a concert tonight. I have two of my music students who are performing at Ralston Middle School, so I'm going to be leaving in a few minutes, so I want to hear them play. So
Awesome.
But anyway, I want to thank you again for being here, and I want to thank Danielle again for all the time she's taken with me and all the advice she's given me. So I'll just turn this over to somebody else right now.
Thanks, Fred. So I want to do a couple of things. First of all, Julie, who's online from Florida tonight, wants to say thank you to everyone in the room for sharing their stories. She says, well done and bravo. What amazing and wonderful advocates you all are. So she just wants to give a shout out from Florida. I'm not sure if anybody in the room wants to stand up on the behalf of the family member caregiver role that is played here. I see a lot of you in the room, and I always see you willingly pass the mic, and I think that what you guys do and the journey that is yours in this, albeit different than the journey of the actual cancer patient, it's a journey nonetheless. So I just want to invite any of you who do want to speak up tonight, be you new or newly involved in this or having been along on this journey for a while, to do so. And if nobody wants to, that's okay. I just think that the caregivers and the family members need to be acknowledged, because what you all do every day, along with your person, is amazing.
What's the quote we saw on Facebook today, that when someone has cancer, everyone
has cancer.
Everyone in your family has cancer.
The whole family.
So for the caregivers that are here tonight, it goes a long way in telling you that we get what you're going through as well. I know, what my family went through when I was being treated. So
because she was a horrible patient.
Yeah, I was. I really was. I wasn't good. I wasn't good.
Publicly, she was amazing.
Right,
it was
right.
behind closed doors.
I was just totally in denial. It's like, no.
Not even denial.
Right,
you were just defiant.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
and that's okay.
yeah, but we get it all. We get all sides of this. So. Yay! Awesome.
I am
awesome, caregiver.
super excited.
As a caregiver, I have probably had the easiest job that anybody's had as a caregiver. I have to try to figure out how to keep up with my wife. She is unbelievable how she's gone through this. She's been so strong and such a great person with it that it's amazing. Look at her. But really, we've traveled, we do everything we can to keep active, and she goes to jazzercise 4 to 6, 7 times a week, and she did it through chemo and radiation. And that's the way you keep up with it, I think. You've got to be positive. You got to go do it, and do what you can to make your life better.
Right.
So that's what I have.
Yeah. Yay. Awesome. Anybody else want to say something about, the role of caregiving? It's so important to patients, so very important. No?
No.
Well, we thank you for taking care of your loved ones.
Yes, we do.
We really do.
Yes, we do.
Danielle?
Oh.
Can I speak for a sec?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm Stephen Young. For the new folks in the room, I have the honor of serving as the president of the Addario Lung Cancer Medical Institute, or Alchemy, which is the sister foundation of the Addario Lung Cancer Foundation. Alchemy is one of a handful of patient-founded, patient-focused research consortia in the world. And indeed, back to the comment about Belmont, this is an extraordinary organization, and we've built an extraordinary translational and discovery consortium. So Alchemy is a sister foundation. We don't just hand out funds, we actually do the research. So Nancy referenced a study, what's called the Inherit T790 study. 1 year ago, last month, we had a meeting, a scientific summit with all our leading investigators, and Dr. Jeff Oxnard at Dana-Farber, through a referral from Dr. David Carbone, referred this study to the consortium. And the plan for that study at that point was 1 year of protocol development, 3 years of enrollment. So I think it was the end of September, beginning of October, we had this meeting. And within 3 months, the consortium's expertise and help came into being. We had the protocol open in 3 months. And Nancy is really a shining example of how molecular testing, how critical it is. And lastly, that's a theme that I think we should all talk about, not talk about, but keep in mind is you have to know your enemy. And so we have 3 studies, 2 open and a third about to launch, all of which include baseline molecular testing at no charge to the patient. And that is huge because the insurance industry is really struggling right now because the molecular testing companies are not getting reimbursed. And so at least we, within the consortium environment, in terms of scientific discovery and knowing your enemy, have been able to establish this. And lastly, I'll stop after this. We're about to launch a study called the Genomics of Young Lung Cancer, looking at under 40-year-olds, looking at the never smoking triggers. It's not because we're going to only focus on never smokers, but because that will allow us to gate or differentiate the causes of lung cancer that have nothing to do with exposure to carcinogens. And again, a lab was referenced earlier that does next-gen sequencing, and I can't name the lab, but it was named earlier, is going to be providing free molecular testing, next-gen sequencing for 40 patients in this study. And we're going to be launching that in the January, February, March of this coming year. And that's an extraordinary study, and it's going to be international. Alchemy is an international consortium, and we're opening the first international cross-Atlantic genomics research project in lung cancer, period. Right. So I just wanted the new folks to be aware of, not only is this kind of program so extraordinary, but we're actually doing the science. We're actually getting our fingers dirty and accelerating and knocking down those barriers to collaboration so the studies can launch faster and be done more effectively. So that's just
the partner we're working on with this is Foundation Medicine, which is the company that Joyce was talking about.
Which is what we were not supposed to name.
Yeah, well, I named
it. Stephen can't say it.
Stephen, you can't say it, but we can.
Nobody was Subani.
Right. No, we do that all the time. Can I just say one thing? Because it's Christmas, and I know myself. I was diagnosed with cancer right before Christmas, so Christmas is always going to be, a really interesting time for me, much different than it was previously before diagnosis. Some good, some not so good. So, because this is an evening of hope and Christmas is just, days away, is there anything that anybody in the room can share with the newly diagnosed and the patients outside of the room that aren't here? Just a little nugget that might help them, get through Christmas just a little better than they might have if they didn't hear your words.
I'll give my 2 cents here. When I was diagnosed, I didn't realize at the time, because they didn't tell me, of course, but the prognosis was pretty grim. It was 10 months, and they kind of said to get my affairs in order and all of that sort of thing. And I'd been the type of person that had worked really hard and kind of put off until, I was going to retire to do the things I really enjoyed, such as travel and things like that. And when I was undergoing the triple chemo, including the carboplatin, the Avastin, Gemzar, I wasn't feeling great, but I had always wanted to go to Spain. And we went. And the philosophy that I had at that time is, okay, I'm feeling rotten, but why not feel rotten in a really cool place? So, there were certain days where, we only went not so far and kind of checked the place out, but boy, it was really neat. And it was just, it's one of those things where you realize that life is so precious and that you love it so much, and that, my philosophy since then is now, if not now, when. So my words to you is enjoy life and indulge in the things that brings you joy, and do things that you'd been putting off that you wanted to try, because when what are you waiting for? Enjoy it and find ways to kind of bring little pieces of joy in your life. I participated in something that unfortunately they no longer have, but they do have a website, and they have weekly prompts. It's called Writing Through Cancer. And I found it to be incredibly helpful, because when you're so afraid and you don't want to really burden your family with it, because they're dealing with potentially losing you, and the last thing you want to be doing is, terrifying your husband with your own fears. And so this was a way to kind of just put a pen to paper and write about anything. And for some reason, it's just incredibly freeing. And those of you and I never was a writer. I mean, I did business writing, but I never did creative writing. And this was just an avenue for me that I found incredibly freeing. And it was kind of fun, because I started telling stories. And so I'd suggest that look up on the web Writing Through Cancer, Sharon Bray, Bray, and she has a website, and you can send her an email. It's completely free of charge, and you'll get a weekly prompt, and she'll kind of talk about, because she's also a cancer survivor. She had breast and also had a heart attack and various things like that. But it's a way to kind of...
It's cathartic.
It is. It's cathartic. It's a way to kind of tap into releasing those emotions, or even getting in touch with them, because I was terrified about cancer, and I couldn't even really say the word for the first year that I had it. It just came from left field, and like Bonnie, it was just total denial. So that's a suggestion that I had that really brought me a lot of comfort.
Weird.
Elizabeth, if I could add, to what you've said, I love to hear you talk, by the way. First, for those who haven't read Jennifer's columns,
Yeah, exactly.
please, even if you've had cancer for 5 years, go online
Or 5
and
minutes.
read it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're down and dirty. They are the essence of her emotions in words, like you just mentioned. Please go there and read each one.
And also about what she's done. You said you went to Spain, and Jennifer has also gone to some places with her beautiful new husband. And these are all lessons that people should learn that don't have cancer. If not today, when? It's things we should all be practicing regardless of whether we have cancer. And beautiful, all beautiful.
And to that point, like I heard a couple of you, Joe, I remember, and Joan, you said what day of Tarsiva you were on. And I remember that. I remember taking it the first day and saying day 1, and after 1 hour, I expected it to work.
Right.
And then when it didn't, I said, well, maybe on day 2. And I knew I had crossed the line when all of a sudden I stopped counting the days and went to weeks and then the months. And one of the things that helped me was I planned to do something further in the future. So I was diagnosed in June. I started July 14th with the Tarsiva. And at some point, it kicked in, and maybe it was day 87 of the Tarsiva, and I didn't start to think about the day anymore. I started to think about something in the future, some event that I wanted to do in that particular case. And all of a sudden, it was like Elizabeth thinking of Spain. Well, you don't just go to Spain tomorrow, although you could. But usually you plan it out a little. And so your focus now is a little bit more on the future. And I found that when I crossed that line, that I went from despair to hope. All of a sudden, my horizon was not day 73 of this drug, which was doing fine for me, and I hope you also, but I started to think about focusing somewhere else. Yes, I took the pill every morning because I was afraid not to, and I only went one day without it by design because I wanted to be really normal one day and not take a pill. So on my birthday, I didn't. But other than that, I took it, but I started, when that something kicked in and I started to focus on something else, I knew there had been a change for me. And hopefully, that will happen to you at some point. And then it's like, okay, I'm Joe who has lung cancer, not lung cancer defines me. And that's hard, intellectually easy to say.
Lung cancer doesn't have you.
But emotionally, if you get to that point, then there's a future.
Can I say something? Yeah. So I've been a year going through this now, and the best advice I can give someone who's new to it is to ask for the help that you need and to make specific asks. You mentioned that you weren't sure how your friends were going to react, and I didn't hear this at first, but what I've heard now a year in from so many people was that they didn't know what to do. They wanted to help. They don't know how. And I think it is our responsibility as the patient to set the tone because they don't know what you need. And what I heard from my friends and my family was how much they appreciated the specificity of my asks. So I'm really good at project management, and I had spreadsheets and I had doctor's appointments. I had that stuff down. Not so good at feeding my family. So I was very happy to ask for meals and help in that respect. But your strength is your strength, so play to what you can do. And for me, it was very cathartic and therapeutic to make those spreadsheets and be on top of that. It was some little bit of control I had. But the rest of it, you clean my house, you drive me here, you make the meals. And people, it was a gift to them to be able to know how to help, I think. So I would just say ask for it. And if some will step up, some won't, but you'll get the help that you need. And you'll give them a gift too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sorry, I can't see far. So Natalie online, her newbie advice is take time to breathe, smile to your body, know your body knows how it should be working well. Let go of the resistance so that it may return to work properly. Your body's very intelligent. If you are on chemo, don't think of chemo as a negative, even though it doesn't feel that way. Accept that it is helping your body to get back to the place it knows. Sorry, I had to put on my glasses. She's got very tiny writing on her text.
Thanks, Natalie.
Go ahead.
One thing you can do when you're having chemo is when you're going to bed at night and put your head down on the pillow. How many of you remember Pac-Man? Yeah? Think of those little Pac-Men running through your body, just zapping up the cancer, just picking it up. That's what chemo is. It's Pac-Man, just like going through, and it's just like, it's a good thing. It's really a good thing, because I really believe in mind over matter. I really believe that helps you emotionally and physically.
So we've got about 15 minutes left, and I personally want to do this, and although I'm not going to beg the rest of the BJALCF staff to do it, and I know I've told you before, and some of you in the room have heard me say it, about why I do what I do, and how it started with my mom and with her diagnosis. That's where my lung cancer journey began. And that it's become, I've said it before and I'll say it again, so much more than her. Sorry, I mean, I love you, but...
No, I get that. I think it's wonderful.
And truly, other than giving birth to my 3 children, which are the 3 of the best things I've ever done in my life, this is the 4th thing that I'm most proud of, and couldn't be more honored to be a part of. I know I get really emotional every time I say it.
No, it's okay, honey.
It means the world to me that you guys allow me to walk with you on this journey. So I just want to thank you for that. And I know that there are feelings behind why the people that I work with an amazing group of people who are all here for the absolute right reasons. And I know Stephen spoke a little bit about alchemy, but if Danny, if you want to, I'm going to ask everybody to just give me one sentence, please, on why you're doing what you're doing.
Carrie, I'm going to join you in crying because I'm the crier of the group.
That is true. She is.
My lung cancer journey started with Bonnie as well when I worked with Sequoia Hospital, and Bonnie was first diagnosed there. And then, just as the rest of you, the rest is history. There's just a migration to want to be part of what you're doing. And so every day I feel blessed that I'm here. And for me, this Christmas is thanks to all of you and Evie and Tina and all of you that have come to our races and runs and galas and answered my emails. We've raised $1 million more than we had year previously, and we're going to raise even double that next year. So I am grateful to all of you who are telling your stories, because if we tell our stories, then that leads to the dollars that then leads to funding the research and funding the hope. So I'm just grateful to learn about you and your stories and your journeys, and I'm just grateful to tag along and be part of this staff.
That's one sentence for Danny, really.
Yeah, that actually is.
No punctuation. She has many more.
I'm not going to cry, but looking at that sweater makes me want to cry, to be honest with you. I'm Scott Santarella, and I know you see me walking around oftentimes, usually cleaning dishes and cleaning up after everyone, but my journey started with my grandmother almost 25 some odd years ago. Didn't have anywhere near the access nor the treatment options that are available today. And so my interest in lung cancer started then. I met Bonnie 7 years ago or so at a conference about organizations that were doing innovative things in trying to change how advocacy groups do advocacy differently, and fell in love with what her vision was. And have fallen more in love with what she does and what we all do together as a team here. Someone mentioned about how do you find us earlier. We had a PR company that we hired a year ago come in today and shared with us that we had 1 billion impressions in the work that we did last year. And we think more people are going to be finding us. The other thing I want to say is I sit through these living rooms every month, and the impact that you people have on other patients around the world is unbelievable. We go to events all over the country, and people come up to us and say, and they've said to Bonnie, "You've saved my life." Because the stories you share and the hope you give and the honesty that you portray in 140 countries and some odd 500,000 viewers that tune in over the course of how we tape these segments is having tremendous impact. And I know when we started this, it wasn't the most favorite thing for people to want to do, but you are playing a role with us in making a difference in people's lives. And I am more proud and couldn't be more honored to be a small part of how all that happened. So I can't thank you enough, and I know I speak for the entire staff when I say that. You guys are phenomenal, so thank you for that.
Who's next?
We have other
Andy.
staff members.
Andy.
Andrea. Okay.
Oh.
Jennifer.
Tony, Stephen.
Tony.
Jenny, Amelia. One sentence.
One sentence, yeah.
One sentence.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at Jenny who's telling me no.
And there's a difference between run-on sentence and...
Yeah, we got 7 minutes, Poppy.
Right, with 7 minutes.
Okay. So obviously I got involved when Bonnie was diagnosed, and one of the things that I think hit both of us, or all of us, was just the outrage about that there was no real effective treatment, that things weren't being done. And Bonnie, as a fighter, when we looked at this, we said, well, we need to do something. And everything that we did, we said, well, we can do more. No one's doing that. And that's why so many of the things that are being done are creative. There are things that no other advocacy organization is doing. And going back to the hope theme, so we've been attending these conferences since day one for 9 years. And when we first started attending, it was just abysmal. There was nothing going on. Molecular testing wasn't standard of care, and unfortunately still isn't standard of care in many locations. But where we are now, in the conferences we've gone to, the treatments that are there, the trials that are gone on, the immunology trials that have a lot of promise, we're at a very good place right now. mTOR wasn't even, thought of not too long ago. So there are positive things going on, and these conferences are much more hopeful than they were even 2 years ago. So I think we have a lot to look forward to, and that's my hope for Christmas.
Yeah, okay. Andrea?
Stephen's going.
Stephen talking again.
Stephen is talking again. Look at him.
Yeah, Stephen.
Sorry.
Right.
I came into this running clinical research in academic centers. And a number of years ago, I had the fortunate opportunity to help establish a unique patient-centric research consortium, which became a model that a lot of groups have attempted to consider modeling themselves on. However, as far as I know, the Addario Foundation and Bonnie and Tony and daughters and son had the nerve to actually take this on and establish it. So I said before, I'm proud to serve as the president of this organization. I'm incredibly proud. And to echo what Scott said, the reality is all of you in the room are changing the face of lung cancer. And what we're trying to do scientifically is to provide all the tools, or the armamentarium, the arrows in the quiver. And that's what gets me up every morning. That's what gets me excited, is the fact that we're actually making advancements. To Tony's point, the scientists that we talk to, the key opinion leaders around the world, will uniformly say they've never been more hopeful for turning this disease around. And Tony mentioned, we mentioned the mTOR inhibitor. The reality is the mTOR inhibitor is being used in many other cancers. And so in 5 years from now, we're not going to be talking about lung cancer or breast cancer or colon cancer. We're going to be talking about such and such mutation or overexpression. And so I'm sorry if it sounds cold and clinical, but that's what gets me excited, is breaking down these barriers among these diseases so that we don't have insurance objections to paying for mTOR or getting molecular testing. So I just really want to go back and thank Bonnie and Tony and family for the balls. Can I say that?
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. The Christmas balls
Jingle
to
balls,
establish
jingle balls.
this, because it really takes a lot of nerve. A lot of other groups are are attempting to move the field forward. This organization, and I'm putting both together, is truly unique, and it's also unique because of all of you. And I think we should all be grateful for what they've done, and I'm also grateful for what all you do, inspiring me every day.
Jen's just hoping that she doesn't have to talk.
Okay.
Sorry, Elaine, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to say it's wonderful looking at you handsome men over here. I never get to see them all in a row. Very, very nice. But I just wanted to say how the word does get around. I moved down here a year and a half from Carmel, lived there 46 years. And I went to a support group at Community Hospital by a wonderful woman that I had taken a class from 33 years ago. And I got a call one day, and it was from Sally, who told the woman that went to that group that I had moved here. Sally called me, offered to take me. I didn't have to find this place. I never would have. I didn't know where I was anyway. But anyway, I came to the first meeting, had to move a few, had to miss a few. And I hate to miss a few. Didn't feel good
It's
today.
only because you were in the hospital.
I was coming, and that's all there was to it. But anyway, thank you, men. That was very nice to have a nice glimpse at you. And,
Maybe we should do the calendar. Most of you know that my journey obviously started with my mom, Bonnie. I'm the other sister. The younger one. The younger one. I'm definitely the younger one. I'll take that. But as I sit here, I'm so. I don't know. The end of this year has brought so much excitement. If excitement can actually be used in the same language as lung cancer, but the end of this year has, like what Tony and Stephen and Scott said earlier, so much promise. There is so much excitement in the air. Somebody said to me the other day, wow, the gala was the best yet. And
the reason why I think, well, not only because it raised a lot of money, but it was the best yet because there was over like 35 patients there, and that just warmed my heart because there was times when there was 3 or 4, and they were there to celebrate with us all the wonderful and exciting things that are happening in lung cancer. And like the men of the group said, there are things happening, and it's exciting for all of us. And my favorite part of the job is going across the U.S. and giving people options, resources. Because when my mom was diagnosed, there was none. There was nothing. So I love that part of my job, and talking about the great services that Danielle offers and about alchemy and everything that we do. So that's, I mean, it keeps, like Danielle said, I love my job. I mean, some days the men of the group kind of drive us all crazy, but so happy holidays to everybody.
Mary's got her own mic.
My name's Amelia Lewis, and my journey started with the foundation. It'll be 4 years in February when Bonnie found me her third blonde daughter from the South to launch the National Walk Run Series, which has done tremendously well. I'm now focusing on East Coast events, and my new best friend Neil and I are going to grow an incredible endurance program for 2014. And I think in my journey, what I've discovered is I think I've probably met some of the most beautiful people in my life in the past 4 years. And everyone in this room is very special, and everyone that I've met who has been touched by lung cancer are truly beautiful people.
And where do you live, little blonde girl?
I'm now in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
So my accent will continue
and
to just
Scott
grow.
is in Connecticut, and Stephen is in Connecticut. So
Jenny thinks she doesn't have to talk.
Commuting.
Yes.
No, she's talking. She's talking. She's talking.
Smile.
Smile, Jen. Who the heck are you?
When I was hired, Scott said never had to do this, so we'll have to revisit the contract tomorrow.
He lied. It's all lies.
So, no, really. I started volunteering for this foundation once it started because I've been high school friends with Andrea and friends with Danielle forever. So I've been around the family when Bonnie was diagnosed with lung cancer. Thankfully, she hired me a year and a half ago, and I am here for all of you guys, and I love my job. And I echo what everyone else has already said.
Thanks, Jenny.
And we do have other people here that, well, that work with us that, aren't here tonight that you would love equally as much. Everybody very passionate. And, I started this not for myself. I started it because I was one of the lucky ones to get past that, diagnosis and surgery and chemo and radiation and, got a clean bill of health after 2.5 years. And I wanted that for everybody. So it's never about me anymore. It's about you. Period.
So before we close, just a couple of logistics, and then please feel free to stay and, oh my gosh, please finish all this food. At least take one snowflake cookie home with you.
Right, or two.
Or two, right? Oh, and yes, and Tina made the cookies in the martini glass. And
ooh.
Yeah, maybe you should leave those and take this snowflake cookie.
Right.
Yeah, Sally, where are the martinis?
Right.
I mean, enough with this wine. I mean, really?
Right? So a couple of things. One, you are all going to be receiving from me in your inbox, please don't delete it, and ask to participate in a survey. And the survey is about patient services and programs, what you may or may not know about the foundation and what you think we can do better, or what you think we are doing that we shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean. It's a survey. I will ask that all of you please, pretty please with sugar on top, fill it out and send it back to me. So you will be receiving that. Along with that email, you're going to be receiving an ask from me to share your stories. I will give, and I know Elizabeth has done it, and a couple of other of you have done it, but we would really like to be able to highlight you all, our shining stars, on our website across the country, regardless of what we're doing, we get asked all the time for patient stories, and we think your stories are so incredibly amazing and inspiring, especially to new people like Joe and I think Fred, who had to go to his recital in Belmont. But to the new people who are looking for their inspiration and their how am I going to get through this moment? So in this same email, there is going to be an ask. Anyway, please don't ignore me and reply to my email.
And if you didn't hear that, please don't ignore her.
If you
and
didn't
please
hear me
reply.
the first or second time once more, please reply to my email and take the survey. One of the things I wanted to acknowledge was a couple of things that went up on our Facebook today. I think most of you are friends who are on Facebook are friends on our Facebook. One, if you did not see my mother's letter to Dr. Oz based on the show, please get on Facebook and
out the docs.
It was all it was a very classy in your face big old finger, but it was done amazingly. So please go read it.
Can you put it on email to some of us?
Sure. Yeah.
What newspaper is going to print?
It's already. I saw it.
Email we got from.
Yeah. But yes.
Email we got from the guy from Life Technologies.
Robert.
We do it. We have an op-ed in the New York. Not the New York.
No, it's already in the paper. I saw it.
No, that's
No,
not
this is
Dr.
new.
Oz. This is a different one.
I don't have my phone on me. I can't
We
look it
did-
up. I
we
want to
did
say
an-
Washington Post or.
Yeah, we did an op-ed with Life Technologies about molecular testing and how important that is, and it has to become standard of care. So that's going to be in the newspaper tomorrow morning, and I thought it was New York Times. Is there another New York Post?
New York Times or Washington Post. It's one of the two.
Maybe it's the Washington Post. Anyway, it's going to be there tomorrow, and it'll be up on Google in the morning, and we'll send that out to you.
Are you
too.
talking about the Dr. Oz letter? What are we talking
No,
about?
Dr. Oz
I
was
got
a different
completely
one.
lost.
Dr. Oz, there was, he had a show like a week ago, and a lady was on the show, and she said, I have this problem, and I've had this cough for X amount of time. And he said, did you smoke? And she said, no. Bottom line, he said, don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong with you. And we're just like fired up. It's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah, if you didn't see the episode,
Yeah,
I will go ahead and add the link to it to the email.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you all.
Let us know if you actually hear back, because I know Kathy and I were
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
doing stuff on the
Yeah,
website.
yeah. Well, it just went out this morning, and it was a press release, so everybody in the world's seeing it. So Dr. Oz, I'm sure he should respond.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, so it's great. So I'm going to share that with you all. I know there's something else I wanted to say.
Thank you to our
Patient advocacy
Well, that's at
group.
the end, but I felt like there was something else I wanted to say before that. Yes.
The video on ESPN doing Jill's legacy 2 weeks ago was just so moving, really heavily.
With Casey.
Just take a little bit about it, because I watched.
Oh, Casey and the
Go ahead.
Olympics. Well, we have a little girl, Casey Oakley.
She loves it when Bonnie calls her a little girl, too.
Yeah. Well, she's adorable. She's just adorable. She was part of Jill's Legacy, which is a little subsidiary, subsidiary we have within our foundation. And this was built from this young girl, Jill Costello, who had lung cancer when she was 20. She was the coxswain for the Cal Berkeley crew team. And she passed away when she was 22 with stage 4 lung cancer. Athlete, never smoker, blah, blah, blah. So this group started because of Jill, and her legacy was to beat lung cancer. So one of the young girls that Jill grew up with, or it was actually her roommate at Cal Berkeley, her name is Casey Oakley, is hopefully going to be in the Olympics on the ski team. And hopefully we're going to hear about that at
Like that crazy ski stuff where they jump and then they do the big flips.
And she's wearing our logo on the back of her helmet. And
on her vest.
And on her vest. She's already been interviewed on several TV stations talking about lung cancer. And she's doing this for Jill. And she's doing this for lung cancer. And she's doing it for you.
Yeah.
And she's adorable. And Andrea's in charge of Jill's legacy within the company.
You need a mic, miss.
Yeah, Andrea, see that? No, she's been wearing beet lung cancer on the back of her helmets for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So she's extremely excited about this. And she is going to make it to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And she does the moguls.
Yeah.
And then the
And then the
flips.
crazy
She's,
flip thing
whatever. I don't know.
makes me
Crazy
very
stuff.
afraid.
And her name really is K.C. That's her name. Her parents gave her that name. And they're very athletic family and what have you. And
Not
Casey
unlike ours.
Oakley, right? I mean, come on, Casey Oakley. Of course, she's gonna be a winner. Yeah, was she in the Chronicle
She
today?
was in the Chronicle today.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was great.
Yeah, so,
So
lot of good
does,
things.
before we close out, does anybody else have any closing remarks?
I'd
No.
like to just say that
With a mic, Sally.
I have a big booming voice.
I know, you do.
No, but I've said this before, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. As a lung cancer survivor, something good comes out of something bad. And this group is the good that's come out of something bad for all of us. And I thank you all. And now I'm going to cry.
Well, it's Christmas. We're supposed to
Sally's
cry.
our other crier. Yeah.
Sally is our mascot.
Yes.
Sally is our mascot. She's our foundation mascot.
She is one
She's
of
been
them,
here
for
from
sure.
the beginning, and
Yeah.
she's just a treasure.
Okay, so I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, whom without their generous support and funding, none of this would be possible. Biodesic, Celgene, Genentech, Safeway, Pfizer, Lilly. Thank
Lilly.
you.
Yeah, and more to come.
Seriously, without them, without their financial support, we wouldn't be able to do this, and we wouldn't be able to fly in the guest speakers from all around the country that we fly in to talk to you guys. So we're very, very appreciative to them and their support. Another huge shout out to Peninsula TV and all these behind the scenes guys who I know all of you in the room see, but the people at home don't get to see it. And I think I've said it before, and there's a whole back room full of people over there working all the equipment to make sure that the live stream.
We don't really know what they're doing back there.
We really
We're
don't.
Assuming. I mean, they could
You
be
know
just
what?
having some
You're
more
right.
wine and eating dinner.
You're right. But seriously, a huge shout out to Peninsula Television because what they bring to the table is absolutely amazing for us. And the Office Bar and Grill for the food.
Right, exactly.
I put in a sort of a shameless
Exactly.
plug to the
Donate
office,
the
but they
food,
do. They
so we
donate
have
the
this.
food.
Yes.
They didn't do the cookies, but they donate
Or
the
the
food
cheese.
every month.
Or the
cheese, yeah. So thank you all. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and all the other happies. Yeah.
Happy whatever.
Thank you all for coming. And Happy New Year. Yes.
And welcome to our new people.
Yes.
And we hope this was a good thing for you tonight. Being newly diagnosed is not
And
easy.
come eat and finish the wine.
Yeah.